about a hold-up man, the best was ever known. He came from old Missouri State, where people must be shown.
Welcome to the Missouri Cannabis Podcast. I'm your host, Steve Elgin. Now let's do this thing. Hey, there we are. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right. How's it going? Here with the Missouri Cannabis Podcast, a little late night special edition, a little smoke sesh with my girl Marne, Madison here. How you doing tonight?
I'm great. How are you doing?
Not too shabby. About to be doing a lot better here. You ready to spark these up and talk about some cannabis?
Yeah, let's get it.
Cheers, mate. What you got? What kind of strain you working with?
So today I just have cherry pie as my last little end of it. One of my favorite strands, that and wedding cake. Yeah.
Wedding cake, I feel like, has been all the rage. This
Mm-hmm.
is Gorilla Glue. Gorilla Glue has been all the rage.
Last.
I'm a fan. I'm a fan of all of them, to be honest with you. I don't like the earthy, like real, kind of dirt earth flavored weeds. You
Right.
know that I'm not a huge. I don't like those. I like piney and fruity. How about you?
Yeah, well, so I'm a terpene guru, so it's really hard for me to really pick, which are the ones I prefer. I'm definitely a fruity person. I don't like it
Me
to hit
too.
really harsh. So, but I experiment with them all.
Oh, you got to. That's the best way to find out which terpenes are right for you. Um, I went to Colorado and some of the other places trying to learn from people, and it's amazing the amount of science that's coming out of terpene research. Where finding out what smells you like, maybe what your body needs to nourish the endocannabinoid system, and what smells you don't like, and how some sets of terpenes might have some effects on some people, and some terpenes might have this different effects. The same terpene have different effects. It's wild. I'm
Yeah.
speaking terpenese right now.
Yeah. So did you see that clip? Terpenes.
That's my
Yeah.
favorite shit of all time. That guy is my fucking hero. He's
Yeah.
like,
So I go by the Queen of Terpenes. So when I saw it, I was like, yeah.
you knew exactly what terpenese was, huh?
Yes. So
Uh,
actually, I own Green Girls. It's a CBD pre-roll company with terpene finishes. So basically, I take a regular CBD potent pre-roll, and then I extract the terpenes. I add the flavor to the outside of the pre-roll. And St. Louis and Kansas City, they're really loving the product. I just landed my first wholesale contract with the company out in Springfield. So Green
whoop
Girls will be
whoop.
stores near you very soon. So,
Well, that's
yeah.
that's pretty awesome. So you're obviously a fucking hempo. How'd you get into the old weed? How'd you start loving weed? Where are you from?
Right. Well, I am from St. Louis, born and
Okay.
raised. Yep, West Side. So let's see. How did I get into this? I started off in herbology, so herbal studies. I was down in Cartersville, Georgia, and
Okay.
the weed laws down there were super strict. And I was like, gosh, these people need better alternatives than these black and milds and cigarettes. So I started mixing these Damiana and mullein, type of herbal pre-rolls. So then I started getting into hemp. And I was like, okay. Started paying more attention to the legalization inside of Missouri, just off of, traveling to Vegas and California. You're like, dang, like at some point, this trend is going to hit the Midwest. Never, gave up my residency or anything. So from there, I saw, us voting, but not being able to really, knock Big Pharma out of the tussle. And
Mm-hmm.
2000 and what was it, 18? Here we are. So I came back up to St. Louis, and I'm like, I want to own a dispensary. This is what I want to do. And I went for it.
Oh hell yeah! What's
Yeah.
your favorite part about weed?
So for me, the bottom line, the base too, is mental health awareness. So this is something that it balances all your imbalances. You hear about all those miracle stories from children having seizures to those that suffer from appetite, suppression, mental depressions, and they just hit this and it's just it's gone. So and I understand, people feel like, well, you're masking this, but to understand the chemical property and component behind it, you can't categorize that as a drug habit. Science adds up. So,
Oh, no doubt. That's like, we got into the game a few years ago, and seeing how it's helped with cancer tumors, legitimate shrinking of cancer tumors, has been the most eye opening thing that has ever happened to me. That and how it's helping veterans. Because, I used to smoke in high school. I'm 36 years old, smoked a little bit in high school, then went to college, and then thought weed was ruining my life. I was like, it's ruining my life. That's why I don't want to be a Wall Street banker anymore. That's why. No, I was just kind of waking up to things as they were going on. It just kind of coincided with that. But to see, I mean, we're involved with a little girl, Aubrey. Her name's Aubrey. She's 3 years old. She has brain cancer, and cannabis oil, not the, this is what we smoke. We like to get down the veterans were getting super healed from just smoking and being able to sleep. But this little girl on this oil, it's shrinking her cancer cells. I mean,
yeah.
it's time for people to wake up and start shouting this from the mountaintops because these parents didn't know what to do. They were on an island by themselves for a while.
And I feel like now, like, those type of discussions that we have via social media, we are considered some of the worst people for being advocates for cannabis. But like, sharing those type of stories, we all at some point know someone whose probably last resort was some type of form of alternative medicine related to cannabis therapy. I'm a major advocate and support of, cannabis therapy instead of radiation. Me personally, RSO, I'm like, man, like, can I get this in my daily consumption? Just to have it. Like, I need it, obviously. So, yeah, there's every piece of this plant can be used for a health benefit, and I mean, I love it. I cook with it. Some part of consumption daily needs to be in use. So.
That's like the endocannabinoid system. Just it needs some cannabinoids. It needs and the full spectrum of the plant. Because I love CBD. I mean, I have recently got a brand of CBD that's made in Pike County, Illinois, native hemp, and I can notice when I don't take it. And you're starting to see CBD being sold at Family Video and shit like that, and you're like, okay, come on, let's. I get it. I get it that there's a market for that. That is fine.
But
That's great.
saturated.
Totally, totally. Which that's fine. That's what I wanted them to do with cannabis originally. Let it oversaturate because then we can start making decisions. We can start having conversations like this and say, "Hey, here's where you can get some CBD. Maybe not at Family Dollar or whatever. You can get it here from this place from me, a trusted person who also has so many people who back it up and say, "Oh yeah, this shit works." And you mentioned you were an herbologist. What exactly does that mean?
Nothing. I mean, people that study herbs don't really have a category for this. So between herbology and herbal studies, we just teeter totter through these self-proclaimed titles. So
Hell
um,
yeah.
I work with over 100 something herbs inside of my company, Green Girls. I do herbal teas. We have yoni steams for women's reproductive health systems. I am someone who knows of, some type of cervical cancer story and me just being able to provide, herbs for women who have fibroid problems, all types of people that, well, women who want to know more about the education behind, birth control and all types of things. So I'm really a natural, type of person. So marijuana being at a forefront, cannabis, THC, CBD, and hemp. I'm a science nerd, so I Yeah, I tapped into everything on like its entire scale. So
That is so cool because I, being a part of the sophisticated Hoosiers group and having so many, and mainly women, but there's some guys there who are really well versed in herbology. And they will hit you with something like, oh, yeah, take that dandelion that you've seen growing every year and do this with it. It'll cure. Oh, you take honey that has made from bees in your native area and
local,
you
yeah, local.
totally. I'm like, what is this witchcraft you women are coming up with? And it's like, why weren't my doctors telling me this shit? No, they're like, hey, Steve, I saw you for 5 minutes. And I love doctors. Don't get me wrong. My best buddy went to med school. He fell out of love with it. Now he does prosthetics
Yeah.
because the medical field is just such a kind of dog eat dog kind of crazy world that I guess he wasn't A, prepared for, or B, just said fuck that shit. So now he works with like prosthetics. He
He's
loves it.
passionate.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we need to start holding doctors accountable too. You know what I mean? Like, and doctors and our herbologist, they can work hand in hand. I'd love to go see one and then go see the other and have them work together, in
And
the
it could
same
be
place.
and yeah, from both, to be in a room and have a modern day medicine man and this person that has spent a gajillion years inside of doctorate school, because here's the thing, people like you and I don't know about you, but I have influenced a lot of, different types of doctors who are now going into, my age, fresh out of college, and they're like, weed is bad. And this was 5 years ago, and now they're like, oh, how do I apply to be a doctor on a facility application? It's like, well, your views have totally changed, you
I
know.
know.
And for some, it is really about the misinformation that they are now finding out. But for others, it's a cash cow, of course, So that's why we're always pushing, the patient over profit. I am really about letting the Missouri patients be who they are. We deal with a lot, obviously inside of some people still deeming this illegal and us knowing our rights, it's so much gray, So and go pro home cultivation, yeah, I just think that now is the time for us to start pushing so many other social economic issues inside of our communities, and this plant is the conversation starter, So
That's the deal. And cannabis, it's it gets kind of a lot of the publicity. It's a big deal. I mean, over 33 states are legalized in some fashion. I mean, over half of the country, yet the federal government's still like, no, we can't be doing that. What about our kids? We can't do it. And yet you see places like Denver and Oregon, and they're decriminalizing nature, which that
right.
leads back to the herb thing. It's like, oh, and there's also some mushrooms that can heal trauma better than 10 years of assisted psychotherapy.
In one trip, right?
In
Like,
one sitting, you can deal with, because we talk to people smarter than us, and a lot of them will say trauma is a lot of the issue. You talked about cannabis kind of masking things. Cannabis, some of the veterans said it puts on a green lens, and with a green lens, everything looks good. They went and did ayahuasca, and they said, oh, the lens was shattered into a million fractals and then put back together, and I was okay. It was scary, and I'm not sure if I'm willing to do it all the time, but I got put back together and I'm okay.
you've done an ayahuasca ritual before?
No, I've never done
Oh,
ayahuasca. Have you?
okay. Yes, I have. So I've actually been around some of the highest certified instructors like in this world, So it's obviously, another form of consuming mushrooms, it's just in the tea form. But yes, it was like a weekend, just mind blowing. Just to see every like inner child's past lives, and you're in a room with strangers, and you can't control the energy of the orb or what you're going to go through. You may go through something of someone else in the room, and you come to and you're just like, I got to tell you all of this. And it's like, whoa, what? Yeah, so I'm just, I love it. And that's why I just want to live off the land. So, like, legalize nature, like you said, so we can start. We're multidimensional beings, so let's figure out what else is out there.
We just got a message on our chat line that says, "Sounds like Marnie needs to hang with the Hoosiers a little more." So,
That
um,
was
yeah, we have a little like cosmic cotillion in the woods every year where we try to allow people a safe place to feel like they can explore a little bit. Because cannabis is good and I love edible cannabis, but yeah, a little 9-minute DMT trip to talk to God is a pretty profound thing that can happen to a human. Do you care to get into your ayahuasca experience at all?
Oh, well, so actually, I didn't go through the actual form of it. I was going through the training. So,
Okay.
yeah, so no, I don't have a personal trip. You had one, but no, so yeah, I believe in, like you said, DMT, and LSD and all these other psychedelic forms. I believe that you should do that when it is calling you. So, yeah, not just
Set,
yet.
set
Yeah,
and setting.
DMT though, you're talking my language. I definitely meeting the gods was one of the things that changed my life. So yeah, definitely pro all of these forms of alternative medicine and things to help us with our issues with trauma. So that is what's very prevalent in today inside of so many people.
Have you taken LSD or mushrooms before?
Yeah, yep. I have, yeah, mushrooms. That's kind of my go-to. I definitely think psilocybins are amazing. I was actually in Denver at the Indo Expo a couple years ago, and this when they were petitioning for it. So they were grabbing signatures, and I was like, man, I wish I was a resident. I can't sign. I ended up, becoming, in communication with the people on that board. Of course, Missouri is nowhere near ready, but when we are ready, like we already got a good cornerstone. So we'll see how it goes.
Well,
Look,
it's
let's.
weird. It's weird that cannabis is it seems like it gets more pushback almost, even though it's way. I mean, if someone smokes a joint and then someone goes through an LSD trip, I think just a general human would say, well, yeah, that one was a little bit crazier than the other. Holy shit. But
Right.
cannabis gets more pushback because it's like, hey, cannabis can be used in so many different ways, though, putting a hurt on or changing so many industries, not putting a hurt on an industry, changing industry, which is good. That's okay. But with these psychedelics, I mean, it's a whole nother world with it's not getting the same pushback as cannabis. It kind of goes under the radar, and the time is ripe to allow people to experiment with their own consciousness. We're not hurting anyone by consuming some mushrooms. And hold on, let me click clack on my keyboard. You said you like mushrooms. I'm just GPS locating the police to your location. I'm just kidding. I have to do that joke to
I
everyone.
share with you. I like have a little
Oh
piece
shit! Oh
of
shit!
weight.
Put that thing down. We're live on the internet. Are you nuts? It was allegedly. Those are funny little replicas of. You're good. They can't do anything to us. All right, guys. Yeah, that's You just got to eat it now. You got to eat it now live on. Otherwise, they'll find you.
So, first off, they have way more things to worry about right
That's what I
now.
always say. I did this stupid
Wait, what?
thing. I used to say shit on text messages. I used to say Shiite, like just as a joke. I'd be like, "Oh, Shiite." So I would always have text messages that were constantly referencing Shiites. And I just
Uh,
assumed I was put on a list at some point with the NSA. Like my number was just popping up. Probably weed, probably Shiite, probably like just a few keywords. Yeah,
right.
that they were. And I'm like, man, if I haven't gotten busted yet, like, cause I'm a low level criminal. I mean, that's the thing about cannabis. We have all been fucking outlaws for
Yeah.
years and years and years. And now people are still in prison while cannabis is being considered an essential service.
And come on now, and that's the thing though, we're essential, but yet we still can't get these federal grants and assistance for what's going on right now inside this pandemic, you know. So I feel really bad, like for all these, you know, successful facility owners, people who have been supporting, you know, inside the cannabis industry, because it really sucks to hear how they are not still eligible to be considered an operating business, you know, but the tax money is okay.
Damn
And
right
yeah,
it is.
I'm repping, you know, because this is what it's all about. So we gotta definitely stand tall to a lot of the big guys that are out here and still, you know, make a way for cannabis. It needs to be normalized and gotta keep fighting, you know.
No, that's the whole deal because you said something earlier on Facebook in a Facebook post, pretty much called out Craig Kohler for being a racist, and I agree with you that the Missouri
Yeah.
media doesn't include other people, even though we have a guy from I think he's from Antarctica, our intern Mike. I don't quite know where. I think he's an Eskimo. I'm not quite sure where he's from, but
Right.
we filled the list out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, no. Come on. So that's the thing, that we can no longer run around inside of what is right blatant in our face. There's so many people, like
No doubt.
kudos to the 420 events that are now, you know, turned into virtual, you know, events and things like that. But to totally, you know, hop over a community that really fought to make sure that people were aware of what was going on, you know, inside of the politics, excuse me, and the community itself inside of cannabis is a problem. You know, there needs to be more people highlighted that are doing community things. A lot of those patients that have been successfully registered, we have a lot to do with that. We were hosting block parties after application deadlines when everybody just turned the papers in and, you know, stopped advocating. So there's stories that they need to, you know, really capture from the forefront. So
Do you think
yeah.
s- do you think St. Louis as a whole is a kind of a segregated city?
So I can't say that because I'm a diverse person.
Yeah.
So I don't really fall into that because like I go everywhere. I love St. Louis from the hills, Central West End, you know, the northeast of the county, you know, like I'm a city girl and I venture off. I hit the highway. I love, you know, even the rural areas of Missouri. So when I really say like I'm my community, it's really a broader spectrum for me because I do connect with a lot of people. My grandparents are from a farm, you know, they're farmers. We actually laid down the family laid down the landscape for the Gateway Arch. So this is, you know, history that I really do, you know, push for inside of being from St. Louis and, you know, wanting to make a difference with cannabis, you know, in the community on a bigger scale from hemp education, you know, to cannabis business ownership. There's so many things that we could be doing if we could just lift the stigma behind the plant, you know. So
I, no doubt. And I guess, I'm like I want to give people the shirt off my back when I can. I feel like black and brown people, whatever we want to call them, have been disenfranchised by the war on drugs for a very long time. Like it's just kind of the deal. And I would like to, support minorities for medical marijuana, but I sound like such an asshole kind of when I say that. Like I feel like I'm almost being racist by saying I want to help minorities. Like I will come in and ride on my white horse and everyone come with me. I'll show you how to do it. But it's like a weird world that I feel like, an asshole whether I do or don't. I feel like just supporting the community and making everyone feel welcome is possibly the way around it.
Right. So I can understand where you're coming from. So here's the thing though, we already have cool white guys that support us and say, hey, I support minorities for medical marijuana. So we don't see you as this white guy that shouldn't be pumping us up, you know. It's when we feel that uneasy energy as to, oh, should I? It's like, well, why are you second guessing, you know? Man, we're diverse. And like I said, like at this point now inside of where we are, this is a socioeconomic issue. So white men kind of fall into that line that deserve the advocation inside of what we are seeing and the government on down, you know. So it's not about color at this point. There are so many other issues. We advocate and support so many other organizations, you know, that probably don't even have the same views as us on a 100% scale, but we agree somewhere, you know. So it's all about mutual respect and the overall love for the plant, you know. So
Ah, damn, that's what it is. Because weed is such a community builder. It's such a bringer together of people. I mean, I know that some kids, like when in high school, if they knew you're smoking weed, or if, even like me before that, I was like, oh my God, someone's smoking weed. I play soccer. I can't ruin my life with that stuff, man.
I
But
know.
but now it brings so many different people together, because now the businessman, it's not just the guy in the, it's not just my buddy Craig Morton in a Grateful Dead t-shirt smoking dabs, you know what I mean? It's not just him. It's everybody. It's these businessmen and women. It's these people who have their shit on lockdown. It's kind-hearted souls who are giving every part of themselves back to the community. Cannabis is such a uniting force that it's beautiful to see conversations like this happen. I thank you for joining me tonight on this little impromptu thing. I hope you had fun here.
It was fun. Hope I don't get in trouble, you know, for the shrooms here. May hear me eat them, you know.
Yeah, I would get them out of your house real quick, but you know what I
Oh,
mean?
look, I'm not even at my house. They'll have
Oh,
to come.
good. There you go. There you go. And those were shiitake. No one even cares about it.
Exactly. No. All right. I had so much fun. Thank you so much. I'll see you
Hey,
later.
is there anything you want to shout out that we can follow along to kind of help in the struggle? God, I sound like an asshole.
Right? No,
Jesus.
you're fine. No, definitely follow us, Minorities for Medical Marijuana, on all platforms, Instagram, social medias, Missouri for specifically on Facebook. And then Green Girls, a medical herb, is my company. I look forward to definitely bringing awareness to hemp, CBD, and potentially THC. I am the queen of terpenes, so follow me for all of your terptastic information, and we'll definitely, you know, turn up. Thank you so much, and you know, I'll see you out there advocating, bro.
Turp up. I'm gonna start saying turp up instead of turn up.
Turn up,
Turp
yes.
up.
Oh,
All right, we will definitely hang soon. You're gonna come hang out with the Hoosiers, and we're gonna have a good old time. Marnie, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
yeah, you're welcome. Have a good one, guys.
All right, see ya.